Hey guys, it's Derpkit here and welcome to another video. In this video I'm gonna show you the plugin Falcon by UVI. What is Falcon, you may ask? For starters, Falcon is a hybrid synth that offers you most kinds of synthesis like wavetable, FM synthesis, analog synthesis, additive synthesis, granular synthesis and more. So let's jump right into it. So this video is gonna be as short as possible. Falcon has a ton of features and even if I record this for a few hours, I will never be able to cover everything up. So I will cover the main things like the oscillators, the modulators, the effects, and I will show you some cool tricks and presets with Falcon. So let's get right into it. In order to make a sound, you need an engine. So let's drop an engine. Let's start with the additive one. So you drag it into the mapping section and there you have it. So let's go. So it's gonna take a long time to explain everything to its core. So I'm gonna roughly explain each of these. So an additive engine is based on sine waves. You have stretch, dissonance, you can frequency shift it, harmonically shift it, you have a comb, and it's pretty cool. And you have 256 partials. Now let's get to the analog section. The analog synth in here is really simple. You have 6 waveforms, saw, square, triangle, sine, noise, and the pulse. You have pulse width modulation. You can select the starting phase, you can switch phase polarity, you can turn on sync, and you can have up to 8 voices with 3 types of detuning modes. You can make it stereo, mono, and you can select how much detune you want. So let's get to the analog stack. Analog stack is just like analog, but instead of having unison, you have 8 mini analog modulators in here. And then you have drum. Drum is really unique. It's basically an engine for drum synthesis. You have the frequency of the waveform. You can select from a sine to a triangle to a saw to a pulse. You can select the rate of the pitch modulation, whereas 100% is slow and 0 rate is really quickly. So you can select the amp of the waveform and the amp of the noise. And now let's get to the FM synthesis. The FM gives you 4 operators with a feedback knob. Each operator has a frequency range and you can select FMing modes, as you can see in here. Serial, parallel, all of that. You can make the frequencies snap, and as you can see it sounds buttery smooth. You also can choose between hertz or octaves. And there you have it. You also have the noise oscillator, which is also really unique. I don't believe that it's a sampler. I believe that it generates the noise by itself, but correct me if I'm wrong. So you have a lot of cool types of noise. You have the organ section oscillator, and it's like a mini additive. You can select which harmonics you want to turn on, off. You can select their volume, and yeah, that's how you basically make an organ sound. And then you have this. The block oscillator is really cool. I don't know how it does what it does, but it seems like it makes a string out of a sample that you drop and you can manipulate it in a really cool way. So let's say I have a kick, so let's drop a kick. That seems like a good kick. So I can make this kick a slap bass. And I can play with it all day, but let's get to the wavetable oscillator. The wavetable oscillator is, well, it's a wavetable oscillator. It has wave index, which is basically if you have a wavetable, It's scrolling between waveforms. You have the starting phase, you can have smoothing on or off, you have phase distortion with really cool mods like Resoform and all of those. You can have up to 8 voices, you can choose between stereo and mono just like in analog and all of that. You also have an FM oscillator, which lets you FM the wavetable. And then you have the sampler section. IRCam, I believe, is a special algorithm, so I will just use few IRCam generators to show you what you can do. So the IRCam stretch gives you the ability, well, to stretch things. In each of the sample section, you can turn on remix. What remixing does, it takes away the noise. If you choose, it can take away sine waves. You can solo specific types of sounds. You can solo transients, noise, sine, and you have options for the remix section. You can preserve spectral envelope, preserve temporal waveform shape, etc. It can get really crazy. As you can see, now that gives us only transient. And you also have the multi-granular, so we can take a pad and, well, just layer that pad. So let's take it. We can have up to 8 voices and do cool stuff. Cool little sound libraries, etc. Now that this is out of the way, let's jump into the effects section. So now that we're in the effects section, let's see what types of effects we have. We have delay, reverb, modulation, like chorus, phasers. We have filters, we have equalizers, we have stuff like autopan, gain, tremolo, widenings. We have types of distortions, wave shapers, overdrives, exciters. We have compressors, maximizers, limiters. We have a phase meter, spectrum analyzer, and tuner. We have an effect track, and we have things like redux and vinyl and legacy effect. So it's gonna take me the whole day to get to all of them, so I will just show you a few cool ones, just like the digital EQ. Let's drop it down here and let's get an analog sound. So let's just drop it right here. So the EQ in Falcon is super powerful. You can create patches and process them in here, so you won't need to process them externally, which will result in latency, and that can also eat your CPU. So you have everything you need here. You have a fully customizable EQ. It's a really powerful EQ. You can get up to 96 decibels per octave. You can have mid-side EQing, left-right. It also has transposition effect, key tracking, gain, and scale, which are really cool. I will get to another effect, which is called convolver. So there are two types of convolvers in here. There is the iReverb, which is a reverb convolver, and a normal convolver. I don't really know what's the difference, apart from the fact that in the reverb one, you can set pre-delay, time, width, and change the dump. And in here, it just drop an impulse response or whatever sound, and yeah, you get a cool texture. And that's really sick. So yeah, now let's get into the events section. So in here, this is a really unique area. You have an arpeggiator in here, which is fine. You get arpeggiators in some synths. This one is really good. I never messed with it, but as you can see, it's really customizable. You have a MIDI player, which I have no idea what it does, because I never messed around with it, and yeah, it will take me a few years to understand everything about this plugin. It's like a whole DAW. You have you have a micro tuner, you have a script processor, and I have no idea what default does. I'm not at this level yet, but it has cool effects like chord recognition, virtual pitch. You have ensemble, which is basically, well, like an expander. You have unison, which lets you have up to 10 voices and more. Let's get into the mixer section. So the mixer is for mixing individual layers, and you can process few layers together, and that's about it. You can drop effects in here. These are your auxiliary tracks. As you can see, you can have sends, you have a master, you can add more layers, you can add effects, etc. And now that this is out of the way, you have this section, and this section lets you select the range of individual layers in the velocity in the keyboard range. You can select the output, you can select what channel you want to route it to. You can select octaves, you can choose its semitone, you can pan it and mess with its volume. And yeah, you can do that. So now let's hear some presets and let's see how it works. So I'm gonna reset that real quick. Okay, there we go. And let's load up some granular stuff. So all of those are sick. One more thing. In Falcon you can also load up libraries. It's basically a contact killer. Like once you have that, you don't need most synths. And that's about it. So after editing the video, I just realized that I don't have an outro. So this is the outro. I hope you guys enjoyed, and check out Falcon and check out UVI. They've got some great stuff. Also a new plugin by them came out and it's called Shade, so check it out as well. I may make a video about it in the future. See ya.